So you want me to be positive, eh? You'd like that, wouldn't you? You want me to be all happy-go-lucky, la 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 la, everything's great. Fine then. These are my top 10 underrated games. Underrated. Hope you enjoy. Hey guys, welcome to another top 10. Yes, lately people are very selective about what they hear on the internet, it notice. So you do a mixture of good and bad and everyone focuses on the bad. Well, that is kind of normal for the internet, I guess. Well, I'm all about balance. So I have to have some good, but then I have to have some bad as well in order to balance it out. So for now, let's readdress that, shall we? And focus on two top 10 lists. My underrated games and my overrated games. However, let's leave overrated games until next week, shall we? Or next time I feel like doing the video anyway. For now, these are my top 10 underrated games. I got my little black book. It's got everything I need to know, and this was actually a hard list to put together. Not because I don't find some games, not good, but when I was trying to rank how I want these 10 to be in a list, that proved kind of difficult because it's a mixture of how much I like the game versus what ranking it is on Board Game Geek. And yes, we know that the Board Game Geek ranking system is broken beyond belief. You only have to look at the top 10, or well, to be fair, the top 3 to realise that. But, and seriously, look at the number of ratings that a game gets before it shoots up to number 1 and tell me it's not broken. Okay, come on. But there's a lot of games that, how do I balance it? I love it, but it's also low rated, and where do I draw the line? What classes is high rating these days? I mean, people will say, no, it's less than 500, that can't be a good game. There are thousands of games out there, people. Do you think it's easy to get into the top 100, let alone top 500, let alone 100? Not everything is all the top 100. There are so many games outside of that place. And, well, we'll touch more on the top 100 next week. But, for now, my underrated games. Looking at this, most of the ones I've picked are below 500 on Board Game Geek. In fact, there are a few that are below 1,000 on Board Game Geek. Granted, when you start going beyond that point, you do notice that most of the games are, well, pretty rubbish. Yeah, seriously, they just are. But there's a lot of good ones between the sort of 500 and 1,500 mark, and they deserve mention. Although there is one that's a slight cheat. We'll get onto that in literally just a second. So, you want positive? Here we go. Top 10 underrated games. Under. Okay, number 10. And this is a minor cheat. The reason I say it's a minor cheat is because, bear in mind, I only took these rankings down as a snapshot, so things might have slightly changed. But this was 304 last time I checked. Now, that is pretty high. I wouldn't normally even go this close to the top load of games. But this game does not get enough mention. It really should. It is a fantastic card tableau game. It's got some of the best artwork I have seen in any game ever. It's probably light-ish, light to mid. Yeah, it's certainly not gateway level. But with the expansion, it got even better. There's another one coming out soon, so I hope that will get more people interested. It is this game here, right here. That is Big Giant Face, the board game. Okay, well, it's Abyss. So, yeah, you have to kind of look at the box in order to know it. Otherwise, you just look at a giant face. But Abyss is way underrated because, it's 300 and something in Board Game Geek. But when was the last time you saw someone put a picture of this online, on Facebook? When was the last time you saw someone play it in a board game club? The only reason I've even seen this on the table is because I've brought it, shown it to people, and then they've gone, oh yeah, I like that game, and then they've gone out and found a copy, second-hand or something. So why are people not playing this game? It's hard to describe, but basically you are doing shenanigans with these different sea creature allies in order to recruit lords. The lords have special powers, they come from different factions, so they're all key to a specific, some are points, some are aggressive, some are manipulative, that kind of thing. And you're essentially trying to win with the most points by the time someone gets to 7 lords. But you can, go and discover locations that give you different endgame scoring abilities, and just the artwork. I mean, this is not going to do it justice, so I'm going to put some pictures up to show you. But my God, this game is gorgeous. I want another game in this series. It needs a sequel. And Z Garcia agrees with me on this. If you watch their top 10 sequels, top 10 games that need a sequel, he put this at number 1. I agree. This would easily be my number 1. Doesn't have to be a sequel to this. Doesn't have to be a revised edition. Just give me another game in this universe with that artwork. Oh my God. But it sounds like I'm saying that the game is only good because of the artwork. No, the card play is interesting. The allies, all the push your luck with recruiting the allies, giving money to your opponents in order to buy allies off them, the cool abilities with the lords and comboing them. There's a lot to like in this game. And with the expansion, the Kraken, you effectively made it a bit like Lords of Waterdeep Scoundrels, where you have a corruptive currency. And, you can do cool stuff with it, but the more you have, the more negative points you get. And if you have the most, it's a job load of negative points. It's a simple but great addition. And people just aren't playing this. Seriously. I can't remember. I always forget where things are in my top 100. I really should have the list out in front of me. But, this was easily in my top 25. I love this game. And yet I never see it played, never see it on Facebook. Why? Seriously. Try this game out. You won't regret it. My number 9 is kind of related to, it's in that same line as another Euro game that everyone raves about, called Allianz. That's not my number 9. Allianz is a bag building game which has pretty much no theme, it's just generic Euro and basically level up on tracks and move around the map. The game is popular and I think it's fine, I just don't think it's the bee's knees, but the bag building mechanic is sound. But everyone talks about Allianz. They never talk about this. And that is automobiles. Automobiles was 613 last time I checked. And this is my second go-to bag building game. If I want my absolute favourite, I'm probably looking at Coffee Roaster down there. But that is a one-player solo game, so I can understand why. In fact, Coffee Roaster is not on my list. It's an honourable mention because, people don't talk about it because you can only get it from Korea or Board Game Geek website or Essen. So it's a bit difficult to get hold of for cheap, so I can understand why no one talks about it. This one, though, takes the bag building mechanic, which is fun. I like that. That's my favourite part of Allianz, the bag building. It's a shame that I find the rest of it kind of generic. But this one adds racing. So you use the bag building to race around the track, and there's multiple tracks, especially with the expansion, and the cards that you're buying cubes for represent things like the gearbox, the turbo boost, the hybrid engine, that kind of thing. And you can shuffle them up and deal out new ones every game, so there's variety. Each setup will change how the game plays, whether you've got loads of wear and tear on your car, whether you've got loads of money or super speed, and it's a cool racing game. Now and again, you sometimes get a runaway leader, but then that depends on how well the others play. I've had plenty of tight finishes with this. I've had, great fun playing this. I love the bag building. I like the racing. It's a solid package, and the expansion just gave you more of the good stuff and made it better, as well as a cool little free race campaign mode, which works quite well as well. So I really enjoyed this one, but again, Allianz gets all the love. This one doesn't. And I think more people should try this. If you like bag building, this is definitely worth a try. Just don't play it with 5 players. Ever. My number 8 is all the way down at 1027. Now, why is this one ranked so low? Because I like abstract games. People are sort of like, you're only interested in the game if you like theme. Well, yeah, I like thematic games, so sue me. Deal with it. But I like abstract games. They don't have theme. They're just straight up intellectual games. You know, mano a mano, you versus another player. Sometimes multiplayer, but not that many. So why this one and not others? Onitama, Yinch, you know, the Gift series, Santorini. There's a lot of abstract games that's getting all the love. Why not this one? And that is, if I can reach behind my chair, it's always bad placement. Here we go. Camisado. Ignore whether it's max or not, doesn't matter which version you've got, but this is a solid abstract game. I like playing it against the AI on the app, and the app is just very simplistic, you know, just straight up direct board to app sequel in a sense. But this one is a cool two-player abstract where each of you has these gorgeous, you know, pillars, or castles, I suppose you could call them, with different colours on them. Let me try and get a castle out to show you. If I can get it past this checkered board. Let's get a couple out. Here we go. Yeah, these giant castle pieces. So they've got the actual lettering in a different colour, felt bottom. It's like a humongous chess piece on this colourful grid board. It's solid. Now, what you do in this game is each of you has a simple objective. Get your castle to the opponent's line. Seems very straightforward, except that when you move on this sort of colourful board here, the space that you land on is the colour of the castle your opponent is then allowed to move. And they can only move forward, either diagonally or straight forward. So you are constantly slightly restricted in your choice, but then you have to think, well, if I can only move this pillar, where can I move it that restricts the opponent as much as possible? And you try to block each other in, you try and set up combos, strategic, you know, turn combos, and it works really well, and it's super fast. And this does what I like in the mechanic that I put on a recent list with Two Can Play that game recently, which is the, I don't know what it's called, the opponent control mechanic, I like to call it, where you're responsible for your opponent beating you. Because in this, the opponent gets to move whatever piece you allow them to move. So if they win with that piece, your fault. Not theirs. Yeah, they might have goaded you into that situation by strategic and better play, but you're the one who helped them. So you're constantly there thinking, I need to do that, but I'll do this space here. And then they beat you and it's like, oh, idiot. I really think this is a cool two-player abstract. Yeah, it's maybe a little overproduced and it's in a big-sized box compared to some other abstracts, but 1027? When doesn't this get more love? So great two-player abstract. Recommend trying it if you're any kind of fan of abstract genre. And number 7, 841. Way too low for this. Koro gets a lot of love. I mean, I don't see many pictures of it on now, so I wouldn't really call it overrated anymore. But that one seems to get all the buzz compared to this game. And is it because it's just simple, like childishly simple? Basically easier than Catan? Maybe. That's a fair way of putting it. But with Koro, I just find I have no choices in the game. Roll, see what I get, take any card, preferably the forests, they're a little bit too hard. If you're playing with the expansion, the tuna boats, they're too overpowered. And, I don't know, I just find it boring. This is my pick for that, and that is, there you go, some of you might have even called it if you can see it in the picture, Dice City. This one is one of those games where you are building a city and you're rolling dice in order to generate the resources. But you have a board, a grid board, that has all the generic buildings to begin with. You roll several dice and you have to lay them out on the rows and columns depending on what they do, and then you resolve them in any order you like, and then do the actions. That can be get victory points, get resources, gain attack strength to go kill bandits or loot from other players, that kind of thing. And it's very simple. Expansions have come out to add to the variety of buildings and add one or two little extra mechanics, but it's a really cool city building game, and you're just rolling dice and resolving the buildings. There's a fair amount of decision making to make, but you roll your dice at the end of your turn, so by the time it gets back round to you, you should have already thought, what am I going to do on my turn? So there should be little downtime, unless you AP, in which case don't play this game. But, you know, I've had quick games of this, even with 3 or 4 players. Makes a fantastic 2-player game. And even the solo mode's pretty sweet, actually. But it's really satisfying because you buy all these buildings with the resources and you can choose where on your board you want to place them, replacing any buildings you choose. And it doesn't have to be, oh, that was a wood resource generation building, I must replace it with a wood resource generation upgraded building. No, you could simply go, Well, it did produce wood. Now it's a bastion and it gives me a ton of attack strength. You might just focus your entire board on getting a lot of attack strength. You've set up cool combos, you've got different colours of the buildings that represent, a tweak with them, like dice manipulation, and that's another thing. Mighty Koro and stuff like that, you don't have many ways to augment the dice. Here you do. The basic action you're allowed to do with a die is to take it off and shift another die. So yeah, it's not as cool as being able to resolve them all. There is a little element of luck, of course, it's a dice game. But it's a light dice game with some mitigation, controllable mitigation. Great variety. The expansions are a bit expensive, I will give you that. I have said this in the reviews I've done of them, but solid AEG and Artipia game. But who's playing it? Why don't I see this? Looks great, does the business, great game. So why this and not Mighty Koro, eh? Eh? My number 6, 803. Way too low for a solo game because, to be honest, I have to admit, the first time I played this game I was a little bit, yeah, it's okay but not great, it needed more variety. So I can understand that some people might have played this, got a little bit put off and then left and never came back. I understand. Also, it's a dice game, which means that it's gonna have some element of luck. But then, come on, Onirim? I mean, I've got it down there, it's a great card game, but come on. 75% of that game is pure luck of the draw. So that gets a lot of love. This one doesn't. Maybe it's the theme. But it's this big dude right here. Because it's the expansion box. It's Hostage Negotiator. This is a solid solo game. And with this expansion and the little add-on packs that you can get, there is so much variety in this. Essentially, you literally are a hostage negotiator, and you'll have your nemesis in front of you, and certain hostages will be taken. There'll be a scenario in play, and these are very varied scenarios. I mean, you've got your generic, I'm a complete nutcase with a shotgun, I'm going to kill some hostages if you don't talk me out of this or give me what I want, to really cool scenarios like a disgruntled boss at work holding hostage employees, or a guy who's generally a nice bloke, but he's desperate and he's trying to get medical fees paid for his dying kid. All these different situations that would result in a hostage situation. And there's even some weird ones in the add-on packs like, twins and a Cthulhu-ish cult and stuff like that. Some really cool ones to play. And you will roll dice trying to, achieve results on these conversation cards. They have the flavor text to say, the sort of things you would hear in a typical movie. Can't think of any other movies off the top of my head, but you know what I mean. When you've seen those movies where people are on that megaphone or on the mobile talking the the culprit down. Really cool, tense films they are. I love them a bit. But in this, simple. Roll dice, try and achieve the results. Slowly whittle the hostages down so there's not many left. Some may die along the way, but some losses are there. You can't always have a clean sheet. But you have the demands that the guy is trying to make, which makes life harder for you. You've got random events that will come out, like the guy might just snap at you for no reason and suddenly kill off a hostage potentially, or suddenly it's like, right, your conversation points are lowered because he's getting a little bit agitated. He's like, you're taking too long. Where's my demands? Such a cool little dice game. And yeah, it has a little bit of a setup issue in the sense that it takes a little bit to decide, right, I need this part, these cards, and that sort of thing, but not too bad. Especially if you play it often enough that the rules are ingrained in your head. For the most part, it's pretty straightforward. And yes, I can understand that the theme might turn some people off, but with the variety I've got in this box, I've got so many different combos of, adversaries and types of conversation cards to use. It's a solid dice solo game. Nobody talks about it. And if they do talk about it, they're normally moaning about, oh, it's mostly luck. It's a dice game. What do you expect? I don't see people ragging on Stone Age for being mostly, with the luck of the die and the resources. Come on. You can't just diss the game just because it has dice in it. It's a decent solo game, well worth your time. My number 5 is a recent game I reviewed actually, and I can understand that this one probably is a bit lower in the BGG rankings because it's relatively new. Well, new-ish. It's technically a reiteration of games that have come out in the 80s and 90s. It's by Restoration Games, and it's not getting as much love as I thought it would, considering that most reviewers who have done it, Tom Bassel, myself, and a few others, have praise this, for being a really lightweight, simple racing game, and that is over here out of shot. Here we go. Downforce, ranking 1,498. What? Seriously? So everybody loves Formula D and all these other ones, and yet Downforce just gets left behind, which doesn't even use dice. Uses cards so you have control, sort of. But it's a straight up simple, like really simple Formula 1 racing game. And yes, I know Formula 1, boring theme. But it's just 30 minutes of straight up clean laughing fun. You have a quick little auction phase to see which cars and abilities you get, and then it's just straight up racing. The cards you play will move every car on the card. So every single car might move as a result of your card. But you choose where they go. And in there, you've got bottlenecks, you've got corners where you can block others, so you're deliberately trying to get your cars to the end while blocking everyone else, and everyone's shouting and raving as you block their cars, and everyone's getting into tight spots and bottlenecks. And a bit like Camelot, you have sections during the game where you make secret bets on which car you think is going to win. And it doesn't have to be yours. It could be an opponent's car. You're going to profit from it one way or the other. But there's tactical card play, there's great laughter, there's great shouting, in a light-hearted way. It's not mean. Well, it's a mean game, but nobody's being mean to each other in that sense. It's just, oh, you blocked me! It reminds me of an old game called Ave Caesar. Similar deal, you blocked each other with chariots and that. Here, you're doing it with Formula 1 cars. Absolutely looks the business though. They really did a good component upgrade. It's got one of the thickest boards I've ever seen in my life. Colourful, yeah, fairly basic in the sense of its art, but it's colourful and it's there and it's striking. Little plastic cars, great for 30 minutes of great fun. Maybe 45 to an hour if you're playing with the full collection of players. I hear there's more maps coming out for it, cannot wait. But this one deserves more attention in the racing genre. I like Flamme Rouge, but I can understand why many people aren't that fan. Love Snowtails, great. Automobiles, just had it a second ago. What other ones? Any more racing games I can think of? Well, people love Formula Day, but that's a massive dice luck fest and it takes ages. Because everyone's counting out spaces in their head and it takes a while to resolve the laps, and that one I just feel is way too long and lucky for what it is. Give me a game that can end in 30 minutes that has tactical card play and lots of shouting. Much better. Talk about this one. My number 4, 678. So we're coming back up the charts a bit, but these are games I really, really, really enjoy. They really need more talk. And this one had a little bit of intro buzz, but it's so far kind of jumped off the radar. I'm getting an expansion in the post for it soon, so I can't wait. The community expansion. But this is a solid, sort of mid-weight Euro game that's wonderfully thematic, in that it tells a narrative story of your life. It is basically the Game of Life Euro edition. It's also right there. Here we go. Pursuit of Happyness. As I said, Game of Life Euro edition. I used to play that original game as a kid quite often, and for some reason, even though I'm not a fan of kids, I somehow ended up with a car full of pink and blue pegs, like I was driving a people carrier. Kind of weird, as if fate was trying to tell me something. But this one, love it to bits, because you can choose what activities you want to do. Anything from fencing to starting up a motorcycle gang to starting a board game collection or learning how to grow a bonsai tree. Whatever. You can take up activities. You can get items like a house, boat, swimming pool, board game collection, clothes collection, coin collection, whatever. You can get a job. You can get relationships where you can date, have a relationship, get a family. And all of this in order to get points or to have the most fulfilling life. It sounds weird, I admit, but honestly, give this a shot. It's wonderfully thematic and just general good zen fun, because you just live out your life, and it's funny seeing how your life is portrayed, whether it mimics your actual life or it's just a completely weird combination of things. Like, I've had somebody in their elderly age in the same round suddenly become the leader of a motorcycle gang whilst becoming a ninja and suddenly buying a miniature board game collection. It was somewhat odd, but I've seen all sorts of stories be told. The artwork is wonderfully colourful. Yeah, the board is a little bit busy to sort of tell, all right, that's that, but so many cards, so much variety. And with the expansion, there's even now, get your friends involved, there's going to be more variety even. I love it. But what sells this is the fact that I get to choose my own path. It's like a sandbox Euro game. So, I decide what I want to do. What theme do I want to go for? What aspect do I want to just be like this game? I rag a little bit on Terraforming Mars and, well, to be honest, 6 out of 10. That's not a bad rating. That's above average. Okay? Deal with it. But with that one of the points I mentioned in my review is that I don't like how the game chooses my path. Yeah, you give me whatever corp I choose, but the card deck might say, well, you've got the corp that allows you to grow trees. Tough luck, you're not seeing any green cards, I'm giving you science and science and science. Well, I don't want to be a science. Tough, you're doing it. Well, I don't want to be. Well, then you lose. For 3 hours, I want to choose my path, not have the deck tell me. With this one, I'm doing it for 90 minutes, 2 hours, and I get to choose the life I lead. Everything about it. You know what, this game, I'm going to try and have 2 girlfriends. Yeah, I know, trust me, I wouldn't do that in real life. But, it may be hard to do, but I'm going to try it and see what happens. I might decide, no, you know what, I want a family full of kids. And I just want a nice, pleasant, typical cliche family life. Go with it. Maybe I want to be the CEO of this massive company and worry mostly about money and have all this luxury items and just basically hoard stuff. Go with it. Or maybe I just want to learn every single health trick in the book, from martial arts to meditation to fitness and salad eating or whatever, and be the healthiest person when I die, regardless of whether I win the game or not. It just allows me that element of choice, my choice, not someone else's. So this one needs more love. Great Euro game, Pursuit of Happyness. Get a grip on it when the expansion comes out, because I'm sure it will get a reprint of the main game as well. Number 3, 937. And maybe because it's out of print, it'll probably never come back into print again, so I'm never getting rid of my copy. I can't remember how I got my copy. I think I bought it new when it got a reprint in the last year or so, and then it never did again. But this is one of my top exceptions to the rule. In fact, I think it was number 1 on that list, because I'm not a fan of history-based games. The themes of history games don't really sell it to me. I don't like history. I gave it up in year 8 of school. I was very much a geography person for humanities subjects. But this is an exception, because it's history-based, it's political-based. I mean, that's even worse for me, politics. It's by designers that I normally wouldn't go near, or at least haven't liked a huge amount from them. But for some reason, I just love it. And that's mostly down to the mechanics, even though it is thematically rich and sound, and that is right here. Founding Fathers. This one needs more love. I wish it got reprinted and more people talked about it, because everyone bangs on with Twilight Struggle and a lot of these other history-based games, particularly by designers like Martin Wallace and that, who, to be fair, I'm sure he's a great band, but I can't stand any game by Martin Wallace. But this one by Christian Lennon and Jason Matthews, love it. I mean, it feels like you're constantly swinging votes to get the American Constitution together. It's supremely tactical. Your choices on how you're going to get the points might even change during a game. You might think, right, I'm going to go for these articles and get points that way. Oh, votes going a bit south for me. The committee moves free. I'm going to go in there and get some points. Oh, this new event card has come up, and that gets me a few points if I set that up. Yeah, I'm going to go for that. You constantly chop and change what you're doing. It is supremely tactical, and I love it. On top of that, you get multi-use cards with 3 things you can do with them, and I love multi-use cards. Valley of the Kings, another example, up there. Deck Builder, I love multi-use cards, where the single card gives me at least preferably 3 different uses. Yeah, there are some games I like where it only gives you 2. Oh well, 2's better than 1. But here, it's either an event, it's leveling you up on a debate track, or it's swinging votes for a particular delegation, like, Massachusetts or something like that. And it's just such good back and forth play, whether it's 2, 3 or 4 players. Love it. There's so much history and theme in here, and even like I say, I'm not a history fan. I was at least interested to read some of the cards with this. But I think it's just the way that it feels so much like a big voting debate. Coupled with those solid mechanics, I love it, and I think this needs more buzz as a solid Euro historical game. But probably we'll never see another reprint of it again, and I guess it's just flown over people's radars because they look at the sound of it and go, okay, a Euro about forming the American Constitution. Boring. And to be fair, I felt that a little bit at first. I was thinking, Sam Healey really loves this game. Why? I've got to try it out and see. Glad I did. He was right. Fantastic historical-based game. So yes, I do have at least one in the collection that is based on history. Needs More Love, Founding Fathers, my number 3. Number 2. Now, I love negotiation games in general. It's a genre I really like because it's just basically player interaction in spades. None of this whole multiplayer solitaire thing where I'm sitting here doing my thing and I couldn't care less whether Joe Stedman or whatever is people, are at the table. I couldn't care less because what I'm doing doesn't influence you. Well, negotiation games are completely the opposite. Everything I do is important to the other players and vice versa. Now everyone talks about Cosmic Encounter. Love it, it's on my shelf. In fact, I haven't played it in a while. I really want to get that played. But, Sheriff of Nottingham, party/negotiation game, love it. This one, though, gets the occasional picture on Facebook, mostly because it looks great. But people will usually say it's good, but still doesn't get a lot of buzz. And it's 1018 on Board Game Geek. Mainly probably because it's a bit too heavy for a lot of people. This is a game that will take you a good 3 hours to play. This is a solid 3-hour negotiation game. Yeah, notice that? 3 hours! I do like long games. Now and again, when they're engaging, that's the key. 3 hours of pure engagement I get for this game. And I've just noticed that 4 of my underrated games are on the same Kallax square. That was not intentional, I guarantee. That is just weird coincidence. But this is, by Fantasy Flight. Great one. New Angeles. 3-hour negotiation game. And not a lot of people talk about this one. Like I say, maybe too long, maybe nobody's interested in the whole Netrunner universe, but for those 3 hours, you are constantly making, offers and counter offers, negotiating with the other corporations because you've got your own personal agenda to match, but you also need to stop the city from going to pot. Except one of you who wants the city to go to pot, but doesn't want to reveal that that's the case, a hidden traitor. And so you're interested in every offer and negotiation that goes on, even if you're not directly involved in it. You're still interested, you're listening, you're interacting. So even though this game is a long one for 3 hours, I never feel like it is. And even if I do feel like it's 3 hours, it's intense 3 hours. I feel like, that was good, guys. Great one. Intensity for the 3 hours, not 3 hours for a Euro that should have literally taken about 60 to 90 minutes, but just wants to drag itself on all the time. I want 3 hours to be engaging. And like I say, there are some Euros, Vital Lacerda stuff, for example, that do keep me engaged for the 3 hours. But this one, it doesn't let up. I'm never at one point, checking my watch or feeling like, I don't need to go to the loo or anything like that. Or maybe I should get some grub. No, I want to carry on with this. It just keeps me rooted to the table, negotiating, laughing, shouting, the works. Looks great, has a decent amount of that Netrunner flavour, even though thematically it could be replaced with any other setting, but works here, makes you feel like you're playing the corporate Blade Runner style type setting. It's just solid. I really like it, and granted, not everybody's going to get into that kind of length of negotiation, and negotiation games are very group dependent, I would admit. Maybe that's one reason why it's a bit lower down on the list, but 1018, not even in the top 1000. That's just criminal. That is just criminal. Definitely look this up. If you like negotiation games, it's solid. What can I say? Love it. And number 1, and it's strangely below the shelf I was just talking about a minute ago. Now this is I'd say more light Euro. I mean, there's certainly a decent amount of depth in it and a bit of strategy and tactics, but yeah, light to mid-weight. It really didn't get enough buzz. A lot of that was down to the art on the cover. People thought it was so cutesy and it's like, this is going to be some silly little kids game. I don't want to play this. Not true. Don't let the cover fool you. It's colourful and the artwork is still, nice and bright and vibrant on the table. But this is a very cool, almost a mix of strategy and tactics, but definitely a lot of tactics involved Euro game about building cars. And it's not like something like Kanban on my shelf or one of the others like Kraftwerken or something, where you might build a car in, say, about 8 turns and you might build maybe 3 in the game. No, this one you can literally build a car on your first turn. And you can just churn out cars willy-nilly. Of course, you want to meet the demands of everybody. Do they want good steering? Do they want safety? Do they want economical engines? Or do they just want super speed? Whatever the demands are, you want to meet them because that gets you the most points and the most money in the American and European markets. And I've talked about it enough, so if you haven't guessed already, some of you aficionados out there, number 1, Automania. Where is this game? I don't see it on shelves, I don't see it on Facebook, Twitter or anything. It just disappeared. Granted, maybe there's just not a lot of copies flying around the place, but people who play this, reviewers have really gone to ground saying like, oh, this is a great game. And I believe it is. Granted, I only got it recently, so you may not have noticed it on my top 100, but I guarantee you it's on my top 100 next year. Where it will fall, don't know. But yeah, spoiler alert, next year this is on the top 100. It's a great Euro game. Nice and colourful. Like I say, don't let the cover fool you. The rest of it is really bright on the table. But you can design the cars how you like, and you have the grid system for placing your workers and collecting tiles. So do you collect parts of the car to make it better? Do you collect staff members who give you bonuses? Do you just try to get more money? Do you just straight up go build some cars, to get on those markets and get the most points in that? It's a cool system, works great with 2, 3 or 4 players. I'm really loving this one. It's a solid Euro, and I could almost say Gateway level. It's really not that difficult to play. Maybe just a touch above Gateway. Maybe introduce them to a lighter Euro first and then touch up on this. But yeah, if you like building cars, like I do, then this is a great entry point to a Euro that builds cars. Interesting mechanics, doesn't take too long. We're talking 60 to 90 minutes to finish a 2 to 4 player game. Really shouldn't take any longer, and if you are, then you're APing, stop it. But yeah, granted, I don't think Porter Games are trying to advertise it enough. Maybe that's why it's not gone more the distance. It's currently 724 on Board Game Geek, which granted isn't as low as some of the others, but when was the last time you saw anyone talk about this? I mean, anybody. I never see this on Facebook, never see this on Twitter or YouTube or anything. It's all kind of just lost under the radar. Needs more plays. Needs a reprint. Even if you want to do a revised edition, I don't care. Do a revised deluxe edition, I'll buy it. Doesn't matter. I still love this version though. Even if I had the yellow box one, which was kind of a weird first edition, I still love it. People have enjoyed it when I've shown it to them, but every response I get when I say, would you like to play this? They've never heard of it. Or they're slightly put off by the cover, or the fact that you're building cars. Maybe not a lot of people like that theme. I don't know. But it's a hard one for me to get players into the game. But as soon as they're in it, they like it. Just needs more love. Needs more exposure. So, Automania, this was a no-brainer. This was at the top of my list. It's like, number 1, Automania. And then think about the other 9. So that's it for Automania and all the other games I just mentioned. I love these games, and if you wanted positivity, well, there's positivity. 10 games that don't get enough buzz and really should. Love these to bits. If you like what you see, subscribe to the channel and the podcast. Let me know what you think of these games. Do you think they're underrated, or do you think they deserve to be at the ranking they're at? What are your underrated games? I'd like to know, and I mean underrated. If I know it's something that I'm constantly seeing paid or pasted on Twitter and Facebook, doesn't count, okay? And the lower it can be down the Board Game Geek rankings, the better. Like I said, broken ranking system, but it's the best benchmark I have here. It's either that, or its exposure on social media and at board game clubs, to which I attend several. So it's not like I'm talking about my select group. I go to at least 4 different board game clubs. So there's a fair amount of exposure, and of course, conventions on top of that as well. So that's it for me. I'll see you on the next top 10 list, which, remember, I said that I'm all about balance. For every top 10 underrated games, there's also a top 10 overrated games. See you then.